Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I'm Lex.
And I'm Vera.
We're from the C9 Podcast Show. And today, look, we're diving into something really critical for Australian businesses.
Yeah, modernizing those, let's call them vintage software applications.
Exactly. We've got a whole stack of source material here, and it's specifically targeted, isn't it? Aimed right at Australian business owners and C-level execs.
That's right. So our mission today, our deep dive, is really to unpack these sources. We want to pull out the key insights,
The actionable stuff.
precisely, the stuff that shows why you need to tackle legacy software like now, and also how this particular approach we're seeing in the material, how it aims to give you real strategic advantages, specifically tailored for the Australian market.
Okay, let's get straight into it then. The core problem. The sources are pretty blunt about this.
They don't mince words. They basically say, outdated software, it actively hinders your potential. It holds you back.
And it's not just a vague feeling, is it? They list specific limitations.
Oh, yeah. Things like performance hits that, well, they just frustrate everyone. Security gaps, which should, frankly, keep you up at night.
Definitely.
Systems that just won't scale when you need to grow. And let's be honest, user experiences that are just clunky, maybe even painful to use.
Makes people dread logging in.
Exactly. So the sources really pose that question directly. Is your Australian business held back by outdated software? It's framed as a fundamental roadblock, really.
Right. So if that's the problem made out, what about the solutions? The sources seem to present two main avenues.
Yeah, two primary paths. First up is application redevelopment.
Which is basically starting over.
Pretty much, rebuilding it from the ground up. The sources suggest this is often the way to go for those really old systems, the ones with major deep-seated limitations.
You're not just patching it up.
No, you're building a new foundation. The second path is a software upgrade.
Okay, so that's working with what you've got.
More or less. Updating, refining the existing application. This might be enough if the software is, relatively newer and maybe just needs some performance tuning or a few new features bolted on.
So how do you choose? It sounds like a big decision.
Well, according to the sources, it's definitely not random. It's a strategic choice, and it hinges on looking at several factors. Like how old is the system, really? What tech is it actually running on? What new things do you absolutely need it to do? And of course, the big ones. Budget, timeline.
Where you want to take the business long term, I suppose.
Exactly. Future plans are critical. It means really assessing those functional gaps, what you need versus what it does, and the technical limitations what the current tech just can't handle anymore. That assessment points you towards rebuild or upgrade.
Got it. Okay, let's shift to the benefits then, because that's the carrot, right? What do businesses actually gain?
Right, and the sources are quite detailed here, focusing on the upside for Australian businesses specifically.
First one mentioned is a modernized technology stack. What does that actually translate to for a business owner?
It means using the latest tools, the current tech, to build what the sources call a robust, future-proof foundation suited for the Australian business environment.
So, practically speaking.
Better performance, straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Much tighter security. And critically, the ability to scale up or integrate new tools much more easily later on. It's about building for tomorrow, not just fixing yesterday.
Okay. Then there's enhanced user experience, or UX.
Yes, and they specifically mention creating intuitive, user-friendly interfaces that resonate with Australian users. This isn't just fluff.
No, it impacts the bottom line, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Think smoother workflows for your teams here in Australia, less time spent training people, higher productivity because the tool is easy to use, and happier staff and clients, which is always good.
Makes sense. That probably ties into the next point. Improved performance and scalability.
Directly. The sources talk about optimizing for faster load times and more efficient resource utilization, crucial for Australian businesses. Nobody likes waiting for software to load.
Tell me about it.
And building in scalable architectures means it can handle growth. You land a big contract, your system doesn't fall over, it grows with you, maintaining speed and reliability across your Aussie operations.
Crucial. And security. Always a big one.
Huge. They emphasize robust security enhancements, using the latest security protocols and best practices.
Which means, for an executive,
It means protecting your data, your customers' data, and making sure you're compliant with Australian regulations, which are, pretty stringent. Think advanced encryption, secure ways to log in, peace of mind, basically.
right. And how does it play with other systems? That's often a headache.
Addressed by seamless integration capabilities. Ensuring the new or upgraded application connects smoothly with everything else you use, your accounting software, CRM, whatever, especially those third-party services commonly used in Australia.
So less manual data entry, more automation.
Exactly. Better data flow, smoother processes, getting rid of those bottlenecks.
And lastly, it's not just build and forget.
No, the sources highlight ongoing support and future-proofing, continuous support, regular updates, proactive maintenance. It's about keeping that application cutting edge and making sure it keeps pace with the evolving Australian market, protecting your investment long term.
Okay, those benefits sound compelling.
Mm.
But big software projects,
Yeah.
they carry risk, right?
Yeah.
And people get nervous.
Understandably. And the sources tackle this head on. They talk about their methodology, framing it as a zero-risk framework.
Now, zero risk, that sounds ambitious for complex IT.
It does, and maybe zero is strong, but what they describe isn't magic. It's a structured approach aimed at drastically minimizing risk and critically ensuring business continuity.
How do they do that?
A key part is what they call the business continuity architecture. Think of it like building the new plane while the old one is still flying safely.
Okay, metaphorically speaking.
Right. The sources mention things like parallel development environments, building the new system completely separately while the old one keeps running your business.
So no interruption there.
Exactly. Plus, comprehensive testing at every single stage. Real-time data synchronization, so the new system always has the latest live business data. And then a phased deployment.
Rolling it out bit by bit.
Yeah, not a big bang switchover usually. Introduce new modules or features gradually. The absolute main goal, the sources stress, is uninterrupted operations, keeping things stable.
Okay, that sounds reassuring. What else?
On top of that architecture, there's strategic risk management. This involves really detailed contingency planning.
Plan B, Plan C.
Pretty much. Having rollback capabilities baked in so if something unexpected happens, you can quickly revert. Continuous performance monitoring during the whole transition to catch any issues super fast.
And aligning with the business.
Crucial. Scheduling rollouts carefully, aligned with stakeholders and business cycles. And proper staff training so everyone's ready and confident from day one. It's about managing expectations and mitigating those common project pitfalls, reducing that executive anxiety.
Yeah, definitely. Now, one thing that kept jumping out at me from the sources was the constant emphasis on Australia.
Yes, it's woven through everything. It's not presented as just a generic service they happen to offer here. It's positioned for here.
How so? What specifics do they mention?
Well, they explicitly talk about Australian customization, tailoring things to local needs. They highlight having a local expert team.
Meaning people on the ground.
Yes, and people who, as the sources put it, possess a deep understanding of the unique challenges and opportunities within the Australian business ecosystem. It's about knowing the local market, the regulations, how business actually gets done here.
Not just a satellite office.
Seems to be the implication. They also mention end-to-end services across Australia, a specific focus on Australian user experience, which we know is key for adoption by local teams and customers.
Right.
Plus, ongoing Australian support and maintenance, showcasing proven Australian results, and cultivating an Australian customer-first mindset. It's clearly a core part of their positioning.
Okay. And does this translate into tangible results? Do the sources give numbers?
They do. Under what they call operational excellence, they actually quote figures like up to 60% improvement in application performance.
Wow, 60%. That's significant.
It really is. They also mention reduced maintenance costs, which is always welcome, that enhanced security posture we talked about, and improved UX directly driving productivity gains.
And beyond just operations, the bigger picture.
On the strategic business impact side, yeah. They talk about faster market responsiveness, being more agile than competitors, reduced operational cost overall, having systems ready to scale for future opportunities, and ultimately building a stronger competitive advantage right here in the Australian market.
So it impacts the bottom line of strategy.
That's the pitch. And just to give a sense of their technical capability, the sources list a pretty broad range of technologies they work with.
Like what?
Things like .NET, React, cloud platforms like AWS, databases like MS SQL, and integrations with common Australian business tools like Xero, for instance.
So they can handle diverse environments.
Seems like it. The breadth suggests they can probably tackle most legacy systems or build using modern standards. They also mention their track record in the material. 45-plus services offered, over 350 projects completed, expertise across 100-plus technologies, and doing this for more than 18 years.
That's a lot of experience.
It suggests a significant history and depth, particularly relevant when applied within that Australian context they keep emphasizing.
So if we boil down everything we've pulled from these sources,
hmm
what's the main takeaway for someone listening?
I think it's pretty clear. For Australian businesses wanting to genuinely compete and grow, dealing with outdated software isn't really optional anymore. It's become a strategic imperative.
And the approach detailed here.
It seems to offer a structured, well-thought-out path to get those modernization benefits, the operational wins, the strategic edge, with a strong focus on minimizing risk and tailoring it specifically for how businesses operate here in Australia.
Right. Which leads to a final thought, maybe something for you, the listener, to ponder.
Considering everything we've discussed, especially the speed of tech change highlighted in these sources, what big strategic opportunities, maybe long-term ones, might your business be missing out on right now simply because you haven't seriously explored modernizing your core applications?
It's a powerful question. So if you're an Australian business owner, maybe a C-level executive, and you're feeling the pain of outdated software.
Or even just wondering what's possible.
Yeah. The source material really points towards considering a chat with C9. They position themselves as Australia's leading custom software, apps, integration, and database developer company, worth looking into for your software modernization needs.
And you can find out more, see their expertise, at their website, www.c9.com.au.
Let me spell that out. That's www.c9.com.au.
And hey, while you're at it, make sure you click that follow button on whatever platform you're using to listen. That way, you won't miss our future deep dives.
Absolutely. And if this conversation sparks some thoughts, or another Australian business leader wrestling with these issues, please do share this deep dive with them.
Thanks so much for tuning in today.
Until next time.